Okay, program flow control instructions. So as you can see here, uh, there are conditional transfer instruction and unconditional transfer instruction. They are the two types of program flow control instruction, and they play a very important role in execution of the 8086 programs. So the classification for a program flow control instruction is made in two different way. One is unconditional transfer and conditional transfer. So unconditional transfer instructions actually call some address. You are going to use a procedure here. Another is a jump to an address. So these are unconditional. There is no condition for used for this kind of instructions. So it will straight away go to that address and execute the instruction. Conditional transfer means based on certain condition, you are executing instruction of a particular memory location in the code segment. So what are those conditions? The condition depends on the flags. So basically these conditions are depends on the flag condition. So that is actually conditional transfer instruction. So there are the two categories that we can have. So coming to each of these instructions, like call instruction, call instructions. There are two basic types of call, a near call and far call. So call here is something like a function or a procedure. So near call and far call. So near call is a procedure in which in the same segment. So we make use of a near uh, call to a procedure which is in the same segment. So wherever the code segment is, whichever location the code segment is defined, I need to define a function in the same segment. Then it becomes a near call. A far call procedure is one which is not defined in that segment. It will be defined in some other segment. So a near call will have its address within 64 kilobyte of the range, whereas a far call will not be within the 64 kilobyte of range. It will be somewhere else other than 64 kilobyte range. So that is a far call. So hope you're getting a idea what is a near call and a far call. So when you have a code segment which is limited to 64 kilobyte and somewhere you are calling a function, a procedure. So if you want to define your procedure subroutine in the same segment, then it has to be a near call. If you are defining your subroutine as a function in some other location other than that 64 kilobyte code segment range, then it becomes a far call. So only that address field will change with the near call and far call. So there are procedure used to define the call. Let's see how exactly a call is executed in 8086. So when 8086 executes a near call, so what happens? It has to go to that routine. So before it goes, it has to save the address where it has called. That is the address where the IP value of the instruction will, because it has to come back to that location. To come back to that location, I should know the address where I was earlier before going to the function. So generally it is remembering the address where you need to come back. So that is done on the stack. So what happens is when a call instruction executes, it saves the copy of that is 2 bytes. So in case of a near call, it is only 2 byte of IP address is saved on the stack. And a new IP will be loaded with an offset address specified in the instruction itself. So because we are going to make call some address, so where you need to jump. So that address will be saved onto the new IP. Now the instruction will execute from the new IP to serve the call function. That's the steps for a near call. So upon execution of a near call, there is something when you want to return to the main program, there is an instruction called return. So you are in the main, you are in the near call procedure execution. At the end of this execution, you need to return. So there is a required instruction is return, RET. So return is the instruction used to return from the call. So the return instruction will return from the 8086 program execution, and upon execution of a return instruction, the opposite process what happened in the call, like it has pushed the content onto the stack, the IP. Now it will pop the content back, that value, and loads it to the IP, because that was the address where it was called. So it will come back to the same location where it executed. So this is what happens during the return instruction. So now let's go move on to a for call. So what happens in the for call? So only change that happens in the for call is, in the near call only the IP value is pushed onto the stack. But in the for call, the segment value, the code segment value also saved onto the stack. Because now the addressing range is beyond 64 kilobyte, and you need to have the segment as well as the offset address, both on the stack. So similar procedure is followed rest of the things in the as usual in the near call. So what happens here in the near call, for call procedure, instead of getting a new IP, you need to specify the new segment also. So upon pushing the value of the segment and IP, you need to get a new segment value and IP value for your procedure routine where it is executing. So that is the main difference between the for call. So this is about the call, and now there is an instruction, so conditional transfer instructions. So conditional transfer instructions causes a jump to a label to a desired condition. So now that there is something that you need to know here, the jump can take place not anywhere in the location of 64 kilobyte or beyond. You cannot make a jump of that way. So jump is restricted here. So jump is only between minus 128 to plus 127 bytes. That you need to remember for a conditional, but unconditional jump you can have within the segment. You cannot have beyond the segment. Within the segment you can. It mainly depends on how much field is allocated for address in that jump instruction. That decides the size of the jump. See, in case of conditional jump instruction, the field allocated for the address change is only 8 bits. That's why a signed arithmetic is considered, and the MSB bit is considered for the sign, whether you want a negative jump or you want a positive jump. So if you want to go above the code or below the code, so that depends, that makes it positive and negative. That's why you can have only 127 bytes positive, 128 byte negative jump. So that is conditional jump. Now what are the conditional jumps are possible in 8086? See, look at this table that will give you a list of the conditional jumps that are possible and its meaning. So if they ask you to explain, possibly you need to go through each, and it is even easy to summarize as you know about the flags. So basically jump is made based on the flag. For example, you see here an instruction, jump if above or jump if not below or equal. The meanings are same. So if I say jump if above, you are checking a number is greater. So condition in which will be evaluated is carry and zero flag. Similarly here you can have jump if no carry, and there is instruction called jump if carry. Jump if carry, that is evaluated. Jump if carry instruction is missing probably. I think jump if carry is here. Yeah, here it is. Jump if below, not above or equal. Jump if carry. See, this is a jump if carry condition. So these are the possible mnemonics for this. I can use it in this way. So jump if carry, jump if no carry. They are the two instructions that you can use. Similarly, jump if no zero and jump if zero. Jump if zero is here. See, jump if zero. So they are the most used jump instructions, conditional jump instructions. So with that, I think here the jump is only 128 plus and 128 minus and 127 plus can be made. Now apart from that, you also have something called as compare instructions. So these are about, till now is about the